Good evening. Welcome again to another presentation of the Volcano Shelton Show with Volcano Shelton. We're here on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And it's a pleasure having you here tonight. I'd like to welcome all of you, good and wonderful folks out there. Please join me here this Unification Day, which is a national holiday in Liberia. Today is being commemorated by the people of Liberia as National Unification Day. Want you to please help me share the link, share with me the video or the podcast here tonight so that we can have a lot of folks join us here for this production. It promises to be a good one. As you and I know, I talked about who could be a better president for 2029. I laid out some of the very critical pieces that president should focus on, and we wanted to continue the conversation here tonight. So I just want to encourage you, please help me to share the link, share the video, invite others to join us here. The show is for you, our Liberian viewers. Those of us in Liberia and those of us here in the US, we say welcome. We're here on Tuesdays and Thursday. But however, as I told you um, last broadcast on Tuesday, we're going to revert Tuesday to the issues room. We usually come on both days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, as the Volcano Shelton Show. But because there has been a lot of callback, folks coming on us and saying that we missed the issues room. We want you guys to come back. And we told you we went off, the air because of scheduling. Our varying schedules just didn't work for us collectively. So we had a long sabbatical from broadcast. And so we finally were able to now decide that we would do 1 day a week, at least to ease our way while we continue to work on what you call the schedule. So as a result, we decided that since Tuesday was the day that we used back then for the issues room, and Friday would just go on Tuesday. And since the Volcano Shelton show was Tuesdays and Thursday, we decided to do one show for the issues room on Tuesday and Thursday for the Volcano Shelton show. So next week will be doing the issues room. We hope to have our full panel with Moses Sandy, Alfonso Yuno, and myself. Will be here. We'll have the what type of country is this? Those good old days. We're going to bring it back, and so we want you to remember. Next Tuesday will be the issues room, and next Thursday will be the Volcano Shelton show. So this is the day now for the Volcano Shelton show on Thursday. So please help me share the video, share the link. We want to invite folks to join us here tonight. I believe the conversation is a good one. If you followed part one, tonight will be part two, where we're going to close it out. And so I encourage you to please help me share the link so that we can have a lot of folks here with us tonight. Um, Again, as I said, National Unification Day celebrated in Liberia. When I think about National Unification Day, and for as long as it's been around, how much impact is this day bringing to our people, to the country's economy, when we continue to be divided? It's just my thought, and I would appreciate if some of you can weigh in here tonight. Just share with me. Um, um, what's your thought? So this is the topic for tonight. Who would be a better president for Liberia in 2029? And we'll come back to that. But for Unification Day to be celebrated all these years, started with President Totman, and yet we are divided. What is your thought? Just thinking about it. I see Raymond Clark from Texas is here tonight. Thank you, Raymond, for joining the Volcano Shelton show. We're looking forward to others to join us here. Um, Thank you for coming on. But again, yes, what is Unification Day doing for the people? We spend a whole holiday today just to commemorate the day, and I'm not sure what is it doing for us as a nation. Are we really benefiting as a result of having this day? Do we? Do we benefit anything? It's just my thought. I'm thinking out loudly here to myself. So it should mean something, right? It should mean something for us. So if you guys can help me share the show, I would appreciate it. Um, but yes, right? We celebrated. I'm sure that the drinking spots are balling, right? The drinking spots are balling. But are we really, really getting the result? Are we unified as a country? We're divided. And why you think we're divided? I just jotted down something that I, comprehended after thinking about the whole thing about, how divided our country is. Our country has never been so divided till these two parties we have in the country now, since we went back to what we consider the post-war era of elections. Because I wouldn't count the NPP. The NPP was one victory in the landslide. Splinter parties all over the place, and Charles Taylor won overwhelmingly with about 75% of the national vote in the country. So there was no competition to say there were two parties butting heads, right? And then come the last war that brought Lord and other splinter warring factions and Oyster Tiller all the power. And then we had a cessation of that war and went to a brief period of interim government leadership under the late Udi Bryant. And then we usher in the first democratic female president of Africa, Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And that was with the UP and the CDC. Many people thought we had won that elections, but I believe the donor agencies, the superpowers didn't think that we had the pedigree to become president of a broken country, and they needed a Harvard darling, the one who professed to be the guru of finance and economics and would change the country and do the best for the country. So she wins the elections, she rules for 6 years. The comeback, we had said, okay, you know what? Let me put Winston Totman ahead of me and I'll go with him as vice president. Ellen wins again. And then here comes 2017, and we had takes the chance and he wins. UP people sat by the sideline for his 6 years of leadership, bad mouthing, yelling, bad leadership, bad governance, bad this, bad that. Continue to divide the country, right? And here comes UP again, wins the elections 2023, and they're there until 2029, and we're still having the same outcry about, who's the best and who's not the best, and Mr. Weir is coming back. And this continues, as I said, to divide our country. So what has we gained from this whole unification day? Has it made any difference over its inception? Because it came into being under Tubman. And as I said, if Tubman was president and established Unification Day with a one-party system, here comes Stolber, who tried to introduce democracy and allowed, what we'll consider opposition, and it led to his death, coupled with other things. And then we go into a military era. We come out of it with, the elections being rigged by the late Samuel Doe, and it's just so much. So, what is Unification Day, to us? What is this day to us if we can't even reconcile our differences? We're so divided. We can't see eye to eye. And have you folks thought about it? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud to myself. I sometimes wonder if certain holidays still have relevance, because we continue to celebrate those holidays, taking away from the economy and the country's growth, and not much we're getting out of these holidays. You have JJ Roberts' birthday, you have Tubman birthday, who else going to come with their birthday as a national holiday? Is this helping the country's economy? Having all these holidays with no relevance? I mean, I'm just thinking out to myself. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is worth it, but I'm not sure how much. Have we really gained anything as a result of all these holidays that we continue to, celebrate in the country and yet not gaining anything from it. So it's just my thought. But anyhow, National Unification Day, everyone who celebrated the day, I wish you well. Hopefully, you are having fun. Those of you who are still out and enjoying yourself, I'm still trying to share the show anyway. Um, Hope everything is going well for you. Just remember to be safe out there. You want to be, careful. The country is sometimes is good and bad things happening. So just pay attention in your environment where you are, your drinking spot. Uh, be smart and carry yourself well. Okay. But anyway, let's start this conversation. So here's the conversation here tonight. We talked about who would make a better president. Even though it's too early to determine who will make a better president in 2029, because the feud is still forming, the political feud, the presidential field. I heard my man Ben Fine is thinking about. I don't know how many of you know of Ben Fine, but Ben Fine is one of those social political commentators, and I say commentators not in the context of the verbal commentators, but someone who communicates through um, um, posting and stuff on Facebook, and he wants to be president. I saw another poster of a guy by the name of Alexander Colley, who has George Weah as his running mate, and George Weah is the vice president. I don't know if that's an AI, if that's fake, or whatever, but that's another person who has intention to run. Then there's the young man called um, Clarence Moneyba, who ran last elections, and hopefully he may come back again. He represents the Lanu party, and you have Simeon Freemer. Simeon Freemer of the Movement for Political Change, or Progressive Change rather, the MPC, the Movement for Progressive Change. And then you have now the new kid on the block, Musa Hassan Bility, who is with the CMC, Citizens Movement for Change. So a lot of political parties, you have the MDR, then you have Appleton Party. What will happen with Sarah Beslow Yanati leaves from the foreign ministry to declare her intention to run again with her political institution. So many with Charlene Bromsky come with her own, Liberty Party. Will there be a continued rift in the Liberty Party, or will Yumli Kanga leave the Senate Pro Tem position to run as presidential aspirant in 2029? So again, as I said, the field is still forming. So the current government has a little bit on its plate to determine that. But for now, that's where we are. So the two key figures that we know with potential, again, are those two parties, the UP and the CDC. Joe Biden is the current president. He is eligible to run again in 2029 if he chooses to. If his supporter continue to force him, to run, and if the country continue to experience peace and stability, even though there are a lot of critics who now saying that he is aging, his health, his administration is not doing much, and with that, shipped his desire to want to run in 2029. That's yet to be seen. Then you have Mr. George Weah, who is still highly influential and popular among the younger generation and working class Liberians, marketeers, the pimping boys, the Yana boys, the Keke boys, because of what Baka is doing now to shape the country and clean up the country and give the country its pre-war image. Now these young people say, "Oh, the restrictions are taking jobs from us. They don't care about us. They just doing everything, making it hard for us. They're breaking down all our homes. They break where the homes at. They think they built all in the alley, but the country has to clean up. So now they're looking at Papa. We sorry we took you from there, but we guarantee we'll give it back to you. You deserve it. We're talking about we are deserves it. So yeah, so we are is still a strong opposition um, candidate who is eligible to run because he only had one term. So as I said, all these other guys that I mentioned, but yeah, what it looks like, you got to look at the candidate, the two major candidates first, Boaga and Weir. The strength of Boaga is experience, seen as calmer and more institutional. He's a calm old man. He doesn't talk. When he finally talks, it comes across as cheek, but it's wisdom. He's aged. His pace of reform is a bit, you know, it looks like it's fast, but it's also not fast, and so that's why people not comprehending it. And the economic pressure, he wants to do more within the 6 years. I don't know if it's the intent to build a foundation for a comeback, whether it's he or the party. That's important. Then on the other hand, George Weah, he has strength at the grassroots level. He's very appealing to the grassrooters. He has the charisma and he works well with the youth. But there's a lot of criticism. The concerns here are his corruption, right? He's being criticized for corruption that continue to linger on him. And you and I know his government faced the biggest sanction. Most of his key confidants were, sanctioned. He was pulled here to meet with the CIA, even though we don't know what the conversation was about, but just the uptick around that, because too many things were happening in the country with regards to people dying, people getting missing, mysterious death, and corruption, and all of that. During his presidency, his economic record was bad. It was poor. His leadership, he suffered inadequacies, and he was too laid back. Can you imagine? He took almost 2 months to go watch the World Cup to see his son play, left the country on autopilot. So there was a lot of things. So then we have new generation candidates. There will be new generation candidates that will come to bring fresh ideas and fresh technocratic leadership. Are the Liberian people willing to look in a new direction, because it is critical for the change? So many Liberians, are pondering this. Many Liberians are pondering this, whether this will be the way to go. So we are, likely remains the strongest opposition figure. But chances will depend heavily on whether living conditions, jobs, infrastructure, and governance improve before 2029. And a credible younger candidate could emerge and may appeal to the voters in the direction they want to take the country. So there's a possibility that we'll have three key figures in 2029. Of course, it's highly possible Boyka may come back, Weah may come back, but who is that neutral candidate that would be appealing to the Liberian people? We don't know yet. I named a few, but I don't know how far they will go. Do we think that the diaspora going to put up a powerful candidate? Because right now, as I say, who will make a better president for Liberia in 2029? We've talked about the consequential elections in the country few of my podcasts back, and we say that every election is consequential. But it sounds like everyone is leaning toward 2029 because the field will be very, very wide. Ultimately, the better president depends on what these priorities are. One who will be economic reform, right? And anti corruption. One who's going to put corruption in the dungeon. One who's going to focus on corruption, get rid of corruption, do his best or her best to silence corruption after years when every president prior seemed to struggle with this one ingrained epidemic or pandemic or whatever you want to term it. Then one who will rehabilitate the young people and create employment for them. That's the better president. Because remember, our population is highly polarized with young people. Young people who are gallivanting, young people who are doing very little for themselves, young people who have reverted to alcohol, to drugs, to prostitutions, to poor education, who are not literate, young people who will need to be rehabilitated, provided education and employment. It is that president will make a better president for the country, because I always talk about the successive leadership. Who do these old people leave our country with when they continue to recycle themselves? Right? Then one who will look at national unity and stability. So the whole idea of the unification day to day, it will become practicalized rather than just being a mere holiday that people just go and have fun and stay home and go to clubs and go to drinking spots and go on the beach and just do fun stuff and no meaning. So that president who will really focus on national unification and stability to sustain the peace. Then the president who will also be infrastructure, right? Driven, one who will focus on development in the country, like Baka is doing. So you imagine the next president who comes and say, "We're going to focus on national development. We're going to expand our various counties and the capital cities. You will want to leave from Monrovia and go live in Sino in Greenfield, because Greenfield will be that place again. If many of you from the old days remember Harper City, Maryland County, if you left Monrovia and went to Harper, you will refuse to go back to Monrovia. I'm talking about Harper City. So that president who will focus on removing all of the development just from Monrovia and its surroundings, but will expand it across the country. Development, modern infrastructure. Then that president who will be a fresh leader, fresh, with no stain, would not be a part of the current conglomeration of politicians in the country. That person who will not be under any pressure, political pressure, to to formulate his government around Yema Unye, take it and put it there. Yema Unye, take it and put it there. Yema Unye appointed. A president who will formulate his government based on technocratic leadership, experience, people come with poise to work. That's the better president. That's the better president that Liberia should be looking forward to. So all of those Liberians who are going to go, say they're going to be voting, you want to be looking. However, part of all of this, the presentation will cover those pillars as I talked about. A candidate who has execution discipline, if you recall the other day, I talked about execution discipline. One who would say, I'm not going to sit here and wait, or I'm not going to just say, go and do it, but I will follow through. Then that candidate who focuses on strengthening institutions. As I said, people come and people go, but institutions and systems remain. Institutions and systems, when they're built and designed, they're infrastructure that stay. Remember, many of our institutions are more than 100 years old, but the very people who build those institutions are long gone. So it's safe to build systems that will be lasting and the impact it's going to make. Then that president who will resist patronage, that president who will say no when there's no and yes when there's yes, not to be swayed by the pendulum swinging here and there. That president who will come to power based on, I want to focus on giving this nation what it desires in the real world, who will put Liberia in the real world, that it will gain its seat in the space within the community of nations. That's the kind of president we're looking for. One who will be respected, one who will be regarded. Not a president who none of his friends will want to visit him. Not a president who always traveling out because he see places in the world, so he want to go places everywhere he wants to fly. And not a president who would carry huge delegations and put monies in people's pocket as stipend and per diem. We want a president who will send representation. Because if you're going to talk electricity, you, Mr. President, you don't have to go. That's why you will hire people with a technocratic leadership. If you want to talk about building a stadium, you, Mr. President, you don't have to go. Not because you're a footballer or you're a footballer. You can send your youth minister, and you can also send your engineers from public works to look at designs and structure as to what would be comparable for the Liberian setting. That's the kind of leader we're looking for. So the evaluation scorecard I was talking about uh, the other day, and I said I will look at it. We want to look at the presidential performance scorecard, the candidate evaluation tool. So around 2028, when you start seeing a lot of people like the Alexander Cummings, the Boyka repeat, the George Weah repeat, the Musa Ability, the Clarence Momolu, you want to look at what were what were these people doing, the demonstrated work. So it would start with average and we start with strong. So from 0, 3, and 5. What a track record. What can they show? What is it in the research that you can do, that I can do? So we look at execution and delivery track. You want to look at that. Do they actually finish what they say they would do or what they start? That's a critical piece in trying to give someone the presidency. That's the execution and delivery track. What it is. What can you find out there on this person? People come with an agenda, pro-poor agenda, arrest agenda, this agenda, poverty reduction agenda. For how many people came out of poverty? What is the track record? Where's that data that we can find? That's one of the measurables on that scorecard. Look for past roles where the